here. Can people hear me? Tell me in the chat if you can hear me and see me. Yes, people can hear me. They can see me. We have 11 people. Hold on. Get in the chat. I'm telling my business partner to get in the chat. So if everybody could keep their microphone muted so people don't talk over everybody, and I will unmute your mic when you want to talk, have a question, yada, yada, yada. So I will start this joyous occasion. If you were following, I had an interview with Jimmy Dore, and definitely write in your comments, your questions in the chat, and I'll unmute you. I had an interview with Jimmy Dore that went up Friday. I'm really, really appreciative of Jimmy that he had me on. We talked about a lot of stuff, Russia, Syria, all that good stuff. And I also announced the name of my company that I'm trying to launch. So it's called Status Coup. And I think that, it was quite an adventure. It was quite an adventure, if I'm being honest, to get a name, because you have to trademark a name. We tried a few other names first, and we were not successful getting all the names we wanted. And we got ideas. We got ideas for names from some. We did like a naming contest where branding people come up with names, and you pick one. So somebody came up with an idea, kind of a riff off of Status Quo. And I was talking to Jen, my business partner, and it kind of just like dawned upon me, what about Status Coup? Because I think it really says everything I want to get across in a media network. I think that we have a really, really toxic status quo in this country. I think we have a toxic status quo in the media for sure. I think the corporate media is really, really just kind of purveyors of the status quo, of the corporate line. They protect corporate CEOs, they protect bankers, they protect lobbyists, they protect politicians. And I think we need a coup of the status quo. Obviously, I'm not talking about in any way violence, because we are not about that. But I am talking about a complete overthrow of the corporate media. We need to build a media network that essentially makes the corporate media totally irrelevant. And we need to make a media network, one of the problems, if I'm telling you the truth, one of the issues I had while I was at Young Turks is there's a big focus on getting our work. Oh yeah, the sign well down. Well, I don't need you to sign up for Patreon because you're already signed up. Thank you guys. I can't thank all of you enough who have subscribed. You don't know, it's actually going to help me get investors, which is what I'll explain that to you as well. But the Young Turks, they were really interested in us trying to get my content picked up by corporate media outlets. And I would occasionally express my discontent with that to certain people, because to me, what does it matter if we get my work picked up by the Washington Post? What does it matter if we get my work picked up by the New York Times, or CNN does a 2.5 minute segment? Yeah, that's great. It would be great for like TYT to get their brand out and yada, yada, yada. But the corporate media is probably going to spin the story anyway. The corporate media is not going to take a story I do, or I expose something bad happening to poor people, or something bad happening to black people, or something corrupt happening here, and then like run with it. I feel the real goal should not be to get our work picked up by corporate media outlets. It should be to get our work out there to activate our viewers, to activate the people to then do something themselves. It's not CNN or Washington Post or the New York Times that are going Can you guys still hear me? Let me know if you can still hear me. It's not CNN or the New York Times or anything like, or those outlets that are going to create change in the country by picking up my work. It's you all who are going to create the change. And I feel like for me, my journalism to me is my activism, you know, like I don't go march myself and things like that because I'm there to cover things. My goal is to wake enough people up to what the fuck is going on and to get enough people active. Like I thought it was great during the campaign. There were people that were protesting outside of CNN. I think we need to see more of that. You know, some of my reporting has led to people flooding mayor's offices and governor's offices with calls and things like that. And in one case in East Chicago, Indiana, it actually led to them changing their decision to forcefully evict Black people that were forcefully being evicted in East Chicago, Indiana to go move to dangerous neighborhoods. Those peoples have been poisoned too. So really my goal in this new network is number one, to make it much, much bigger than me. We cannot succeed if I'm the only one. We need to have other reporters. We need to have passionate reporters. We need to have aggressive reporters. They don't need to be me. They don't need to be my style. I want all different kinds of people. I don't necessarily need people with tons and tons of journalism experience. I want people who are righteously indignant. I want people who can research. I want people that I don't need to stay on to work hard. I want people that are self-starters that can work hard themselves. So Jen and I, my business partner, who, by the way, she's in the chat. She has been there for me in the dark times, in the better times. She was there for me in very tough times in November, December, and January. She's a mother of two. She worked at my last nonprofit, Truth Against the Machine. I can't say enough nice things about her. And she also deals with my bullshit. So fantastic. Anyway, where we're at is we're trying to get investors because we need startup capital. Like as much as I love Jimmy Dore and Kyle Kalinske and Lee Camp and all these people, it's a whole nother level of money you need to get in the field. You know, you need equipment that you need to buy. You got to get flights. You got to get rent-a-cars. You got to get, I mean, we're probably going to go the motel route, but you need money for all this. But once we have the startup capital and once we keep crowdfunding through Patreon and this and that, I think we're going to do great because as far as I'm concerned, I don't see much competition out there. I don't see anyone doing this kind of reporting. You know, Democracy Now! I think does great work, but they're not particularly like out there in the field that much. That's not a criticism. That's just, you know, that's what they are. The Young Turks, I'm not going to really get into what I think about the Young Turks, but needless to say, I don't think they're doing the reporting that they should be doing. Corporate media certainly isn't out there covering real stories. So I don't really see a lot of I don't see this kind of reporting out there. And to me, if we get the startup capital, and I ain't gonna bullshit you. We need money, like real money. I'm not talking like $5,000. I'm talking a lot more. Because when I go out, I don't want to, you know, reporting stressful. I don't want to have to be worrying like, oh, how long can I stay here? Can I afford this hotel tonight? You know, can we afford this really expensive thing at Best Buy? Like, I want to have the startup capital readily available. So that's number one. Number two, I'm currently like sending the business proposal to potential investors and all those things. I'm not going to bullshit you. It's definitely been slow. We don't have an investor lined up yet. I am not reaching out to plutocrats that have funded Hillary Clinton heavily or Barack Obama heavily or Republicans heavily. I really don't want that kind of money. I want wealthier or people who are progressive, who have money. And I don't want people's money that are dispassionate. I want people to fund us who share the vision, because it's very important to me to have people who are funding us that want the same type of reporting that I'm passionate about, that feel that there's a lack. So we have the business proposal out to a lot of people. We've been simultaneously trying to grow the Patreon so we could show those potential investors, well, look how many paid subscribers we have, and I haven't even left my apartment yet. So I haven't even done the in the field reporting that people know me for. So, we have a couple interested people. Right now, I literally technically cannot go out into the field. I had back surgery recently, and if you want to know the truth, this morning I went back to the surgeon because I had a spinal fluid buildup in my back, so they had to stick a needle in it. So I'll ask Jane Fonda for money. Not a bad idea. I did just message one celebrity today that's very progressive to ask for money, so we'll see if she gets back. But that's basically it. It's an uphill climb. It's definitely grassroots from the ground up. I want to be clear. I won't confirm or deny Nancy. She just said Susan Sarandon. I want to be clear. I am in this for the long term, so I'm not going to take any shortcuts. If certain Democratic Party plutocrats offer me a lot of money, I'm not taking it. If certain plutocrats that have funded the very politicians, the very corporations that I think have led to this neoliberal / extreme conservative order that we live under, I don't want their money. I'd rather go out with no money, with my monopod, with it looking terrible, and be independent. So that's kind of it. We launched the name on Friday, thanks to Jimmy Dore. I'm going on Jamal Thomas's program on Wednesday. Thank you, Dylan. I could see you shirtless in your bed. You're very attractive. I will be going on Jamal Thomas's show Wednesday. He has the Progressive Soapbox. I like his work. I'm going to go on the Humanist Report, I think, next week. I'm going to start going on other people's shows to get the word out that we're back. Just being on Jimmy's show, I think we're up at least 2,000 subscribers since I went on his show, and that's just since Friday, which shows you the level of YouTube suppression we've been dealing with. Literally, YouTube is not delivering my videos to subscribers. They're not notifying people when I'm live. It's not just me. They're doing it to Jimmy, Kyle, Jamal, Mike from the Humanist Report, and they're doing it across the board. It's not just political people. They're doing it to like fashion channels and all these other channels. So that's kind of the Cliff Notes version of what's going on. And now I want to take your questions, comments, concerns. Enter in the chat if you have a question, comment, concern, and I will unmute you. Everybody else stay muted, so like there's not a bunch of people talking over each other. But if you have any questions, comments, concerns, whatever. Bob Kroger has a question. Hold on, Bob. I'm unmuting you.
Hey, Jordan.
Go ahead,
thank
Bob.
you. Yes. Can you hear me okay?
You there, Bob?
Yep. Can you hear me?
I can.
Oh, good. Has Michael Moore shown any interest in the Flint water crisis at all?
In my opinion, Michael Moore has been pretty absent from the Flint water crisis.
Unbelievable.
Short of occasionally tweeting about it. The last few times I've seen Michael Moore, I've seen him on MSNBC ranting and raving about Donald Trump. I've seen him, I think he did like a Broadway play. I don't know what it was about. I thought it was about Trump, but I'm not sure. I happen to know, I have sources in Flint that have told me that Moore hasn't done as much as he can. Full disclosure, I've never talked to Michael Moore. I have sent him some stuff. He never got back to me. So I don't really know him other than what I'm told. So I don't want to, I'm not trying to attack him. But when you have that kind of microphone, when you could tweet something and it become national news, when you can go on any show you really want and advocate for the people, I think that's a really powerful microphone, and I don't think he's using it. So answer your question? No.
Yep. Thank you.
Yeah. All right. I'm going to hold on one second. And I don't mean to be a stickler, but if you guys could just put in the chat when you want to say something, that way I could just unmute you then. Oh, Dylan. Dylan, you're unmuted.
Hi.
Hi.
Hey, you're right. It's about 1 a.m. for me. That's how I am.
Why, thank you for staying up.
Oh, I'm disabled, you see, so I've, so I'm from the UK, the land of universal healthcare. So I don't pay for anything. even on
I know,
education.
I did some last
Um,
and I did something else.
Oh,
thing
Yeah, I don't know.
how the US is so immoral in not having a society that looks after itself. You know, as Bernie said, yeah, you are the richest country on earth, which is true. And you've got neighbours to the north and neighbours to the south, which have universal healthcare. And how the hell can you privatize healthcare? Is just they're trying to do it here, but it's because the UK we're devolved now because Wales is we've got our own parliament, Scotland has its own parliament and things like that. So everything's devolved from London. Even with Brexit, the power grab from Wales is happening now, so that London's trying to control Wales again, which we've been trying to go, against. And that's why I was anti-Brexit. Everybody thinks that, the European Union was a bit dodgy, but it did regulate a lot of things that London were trying to do with its the home nations, as we call ourselves. But the European Union was the one that closed Fox News down in Europe, as well as the UK regulators. But if I go back to social issues like that, our water companies and things like that aren't privatized, like the rivers and things like that. All right, environmental agencies aren't privatized; they're government run and things like that.
let me ask you a question.
Yeah.
I should know this, but I don't. Do you guys have term limits in the UK?
For Parliament,
Yeah.
5 years.
That's for not just the Prime Minister. I'm talking about people in your Parliament.
Yeah, 5 years.
So
Prime Minister and the government and members of Parliament, all in one, 5 years.
Can they be re-elected and run again, or?
Yeah, they can. Jeremy Corbyn has been in Parliament since 1984. And it's, he was have you ever heard of Tony Benn?
No.
Okay, he was a very anti-monarchist, very Republican type of Labour Party member. Who did an interview with him? Yeah, unfortunately, Cenk did an interview with him a couple of years back, and it was really good. That's a totally different subject. And Michael Moore did an interview with him as well about the National Health Service. And I'm going back years ago, okay? Michael Moore had a program called TV Nation. Do people remember that?
I think I know what you're talking about.
Yeah. Well, when you've heard about the Falkland War.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Now, Argentina at the time, or about 15 years after the war, said that they'd give $1 million to each citizen that lived on the Falkland Islands to be an Argentinian. And they refused. So Michael Moore went on the streets in Cardiff, which is the capital of Wales, and other cities in Wales and towns, and said this to Welsh people. And they said, yeah, we'll take the $1 million. Anything to leave Britain.
I don't want to cut you off, but I want to get to other people.
Sorry, mate. Here's blabbling on.
Here's what I think. It's also, if you haven't read it, if you're interested, read Thomas Frank's book, Listen Liberally. Listen Liberally.
I have.
Okay. So basically 1950s and 1960s, we had strong labor unions. You actually had regulation in America where there were caps on what corporation and individuals can give. By the way, these caps that we have now are total bullshit. People go
No,
for them all the time.
awful.
We did not have these trade deals, which were essentially written by banks and corporations to trade our jobs offshore and not actually give people jobs after that who lost their jobs. And we also have, you know, I don't mean to be simplistic, but I do believe in the 1980s, there was this shift. I think it came from the Wall Street mentality of greed is good and everybody out for themselves. Where in the 1950s and 60s, there was more of a, I wasn't alive, obviously, but there was more of a, CEOs actually cared if their workers could breathe or live. And I think that's why it's super important, not only to have real media out there, but to have media that wake people up, because we need to wake up more than just progressive people, but you need actual progressive politicians. That's why I think it's great on the ground level. You're starting to see more Democratic Socialists of America elected. You're starting to see more Green Party people elected. You're starting to see, actually, even in Texas, there are more progressive people running now than establishment. So Rome wasn't built in a day. The oligarchy was not built in a day. It's going to take a little bit of time to knock it down. But we will. Real quick.
3 things, okay? That's why I like ITN News and Channel 4 News that we have in the UK. BBC is a bit dodgy at times. And I'm glad people don't understand that Britain is a social democracy. Just that we have a royal family and we have to pay a little bit for them. But
let me tell you something. I was in Germany. They basically pay around the same that we pay and get a whole lot more. I mean, we end up paying
half what you pay.
We end up paying the same, if not more than them, in deductibles and co-insurance. I had back surgery recently with health insurance. I have a $3,000 bill. So,
you know, my dad, say about 10 years ago, had a new aortic valve put in him. Nothing, paid nothing for it. Heart surgery. You know, and he's, 72 now? And, you know, it's like, we've got this safety net. I'm on disability benefits.
Really? I thought you were a male model.
Oh, yeah, right. Thanks. If that's, I only became disabled about 6 years ago, and that's what happened.
I don't want to cut you off, but I want to get to.
Just cut me off now and carry on. I'm loving this.
Thanks, brother. Well. So, other questions, comments, keep them coming. Just tell me in the chat. I love Dylan. I love his accent. I love that he's up till 1 a.m. Question here from Nancy. Let's get to Nancy. Hold on, Nancy. I'm not the most tech savvy, so I got to find you. I got to unmute you. It's a whole complicated thing here. Hold on. Nancy. Nancy, you there?
Can you hear me?
I can.
Okay. I have a fun question for you.
Sure.
President Jordan Sheridan. What was your first?
Don't get any ideas.
What would your, well, I'd have to be your VP, of course. What would your first 100 days in office look like?
Oh, Jesus.
Give me your 3 top policy goals.
Well, it depends what the legislative laws are. If I could do executive actions, I will definitely do that. Number 1, my first rule of thumb, my first action would be, probably without knowing how much it would cost, I'm going to conservatively estimate between $2 and $5 trillion to replace all of the lead service lines in the United States. It would probably actually take more than 2 to 5 trillion. But hey, we spent 6 trillion in Iraq, so we have the money. That would be the first.
We absolutely have the money.
Because the bottom line is, if we don't have clean water, we don't have anything. And I'm seeing it all around the country. I mean, if you Google water contamination every day, you will literally see 6 or 7 new things come up. And that's number 1. Number 2, I would invest in a heavy government jobs program that would focus it's focus heavily on people making, I'd say, 50,000 and lower. I would also tailor quite a bit of that to large cities that are predominantly African American, because I think that the bottom line is we've never had a black middle class in this country. And not only would having a stronger black economy where black people are making more help black people, but it would help all of us. So that would be number two. Number three, and it's hard because I'd like to make this the first one. I don't think it's realistic to immediately do this, but I would start shrinking and then removing all of the US military bases that are around the world. There might be some places.
We could possibly spare about 500, I think.
Well, if I'm keeping it real, and my business partner Jen loves this topic, I do think it's very likely Kennedy was killed because Kennedy was actually fighting the neocons and was against the endless war machine and was saying no. I mean, if he listened to the neocons, the Cuban Missile Crisis would have led to a nuclear war. So it's very possible if I tried that, I'd be assassinated. So save this video if I ever am elected to office. I don't really want to be a politician. But I think the bottom line is it's never covered on corporate media. Frankly, I don't hear it a lot in independent media that much. But the bottom line is, George Bush says, they hate us for our freedom. No, they hate us because we're fucking illegally occupying their countries all over the goddamn world. For God's sakes. Now, I'm not defending ISIS. I'm not defending Al-Qaeda. There's no defense for terrorism. But you know what? If my family was blown up in a drone attack or my country was occupied by a military, I might not be happy about it. I might be more susceptible to become radicalized. So those are the three. Number one, change all the pipes. Number two, a massive government jobs program. Number three, shrinking down our bases, definitely shrinking down the military. What are we at? Like, our military now is bigger than the next 10 or 11 countries combined. And I would take that savings of military money. You know what I'd do with it? I would actually invest it in schools and universal health care. That's what I'd invest it in. And we'd have plenty of money left over. But the problem is war is a profit machine for this country. It's been that way forever. So until we take that, shrink that, we're going to have this repetitive cycle. So that's, Jen would vote for me. Thank you. Thank you very much. Anything else, Nancy?
You'd want to use the military for defense, not offense, which is basically all we do these days.
Well, call me old-fashioned, but I thought that the military is for, like, if you have evidence of an imminent attack, then you act, right? But I don't believe we've had evidence of an imminent attack, maybe other than the Cuban Missile Crisis, if that. We had no evidence of Iraq. Frankly, I think, yes, it made sense to go into Afghanistan after 9/11, but at the same time, Al-Qaeda was in a lot more places than Afghanistan. So it has not made sense to stay there. It has not made sense to take out Gaddafi in Libya, which is now much worse off. It didn't make sense to take out Mossadegh in Iran in the 1950s, which is what put in radicals in Iran. So, I mean, it wouldn't happen overnight, but I would start to peel away these layers, because make no mistake, the reason Flint and Detroit and Cleveland and Milwaukee and all these places are falling the hell apart is because all the money is being spent on these wars to basically keep politicians in power, to keep Boeing humming, to keep the defense industry humming, and basically to make sure that we could steal the rest of the world's oil. That's why we wanted to take out Fidel Castro, because he wouldn't give us his oil. Same thing in many other countries. After TYT fired me in November, December, January, I watched Oliver Stone's Untold History of the United States. I told Jen, I don't even know if I want to be a reporter in the United States anymore. I want to move to Canada. I'm so disgusted after watching that. I mean, literally every single war we have started has been based on oil. And the media is hyperventilating over Russia attacking our non-existent democracy. we've toppled democratically elected leaders all over the country, all over the world, so that we could put in, frankly, jihadists, radicals, who basically would be more business friendly to us. We have killed millions. And you know what? The corporate media, if they heard me say that, oh, he's un-American, he's a Russian puppet, blah, 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 blah. Even my parents think I'm kind of radical. But that's the truth. If you do the research, that's the truth. So that's what oh yeah, Carl said legalize weed. That would be on there too, but she asked me for the top 3. So, what can you do? Joel from Michigan. What do you got, Joel?
Hey, Jordan. I can take this off the air, but as a person who's going to be starting a media company, how do you intend to protect the identity of people who could potentially be giving you information that might be considered sensitive?
We're going to do encrypted messaging. The Intercept does it. A bunch of other places do it. I would be lying to you if I was a tech expert. I don't particularly know how it works. But what I do know is I don't want to name names, but I have somebody working on the tech end and helping me who worked at Apple with Steve Jobs. I think Steve Jobs is kind of a douchebag, but he also was a visionary. So we're going to be doing encrypted messaging. Because honestly, I like Signal, but I don't even know if that is protected and safe completely. I've had to change my number because of potential hacking and things like that. So definitely encrypted messaging, those kinds of things. A lot of people message me right now on Facebook, this and that. Eventually, I'm probably not even going to be on Facebook because it's not protected, as we could see from everything going on with Facebook. So the goal is definitely a platform where you'd be able to go through an encrypted messaging system. I've actually seen more than the Intercept. A couple other places are doing that now. So that's the plan.
Okay. Yeah, just want to be clear. That's very important. So.
Oh, yeah, I know, for sure. It was very, very likely that my phone was hacked at Standing Rock. So, like many others, because I was followed at Standing Rock by unmarked cars several times. And the only thing I could think of as far as how they know where I was going was looking at my texts. So,
Hey,
Yeah.
thank you.
Yeah, no problem, man. All right. Nicholas, question. Let me get to you, Nicholas.
What up, buddy?
Hey, how's it going?
It's going all right. First of all, I just wanted to thank you for persevering, kind of sticking through there. Well, not kind of. I mean, it's taken a lot out of you. We can all see that. But I had a bunch of questions, but you covered pretty much all of them, and so did everybody else. But I think that the coverage of the election coming up, both locally and abroad, is one of the most important things that we have to cover, because we can't rely on the media to do that properly. And I think an independent media force could cover independent candidates, third-party candidates, and really broaden the spectrum of options as far as candidates are concerned. And I was wondering if that was something that you intended to do, to follow the Green Party and other parties that pop up.
Nicholas, since you're a patron, you get all the behind-the-scenes gossip. So, keeping it real, I'm the one who pushed TYT to go out on the road and cover Jill Stein. They weren't like, go cover Jill Stein. I said to them, if I'm covering the Democratic convention and the Republican convention, I should cover the Green Party convention. I said to Cenk, I should go and follow her for a little bit because there's a lot of people interested in her. I intend to do that. I definitely, it was my struggle with TYT, and it will be my struggle with status quo. That's why I want to get other reporters too, because there's only so much I individually could do. But I want to cover as much as possible, because to me, it's not only about covering Green Party or Democratic Socialists of America and all these because I agree with them. It's also like we've gotten so far away from the fair equal time standards. I mean, Jill Stein, they only had Jill Stein on to like attack her for not endorsing Hillary Clinton or to corner her on like sitting at a table with Vladimir Putin, you know?
Right.
So I think if you're a journalist, like you should want to show the masses as many voices as possible. I mean, if somebody was on from the Green Party or elsewhere, like putting out kooky, loony things, I might feel differently. But I mean, I don't think it's loony to want to erase student debt, which I think is a revolutionary idea from Jill Stein. We let the bankers off. Why don't we erase student debt? The economic boon from that would be amazing. I don't think it's radical what Democratic Socialists of America are talking about. The problem is that's not what our corporate media wants to cover. Frankly, when I was at the Young Turks, if I'm being honest, I don't think they covered the election fraud and the suppression stuff that went on. I covered the New York primary purge quite a bit. It was very difficult to get them to put that on the show. This isn't to like attack them. This is just the truth. So I do think, yeah, as much as I humanly can, I'm not going to lie to you. We're not going to have a budget like CNN to have reporters on the ground at every single primary and all elsewhere. But I will cover things as much as I humanly can. And yeah, we're going to interview as many independent people as we can. I also want to interview people after their campaign. So for example, Anthony Clark, he lost his primary in Illinois, 7th District. He was a Justice Democrat. Obviously, there's been some things with Justice Democrats out there, but I happen to love the guy. I love his policies and what he stands for. He lost, and I spoke with him, and we did probably like an hour-long interview for my podcast. And literally, I mean, the shit he was saying, you will not hear anywhere else. I mean, he was having lawn signs stolen. He was having threatening calls to him and his family from the incumbent candidate and their masses. He was they were challenging him in court just to make sure he couldn't get on the ballot. Like this, when they say the system is rigged, it's not just what happened to Bernie. It's that,
Bizarre.
Right.
Yeah.
It's happening to people like Anthony all over the country. And if there's no media to get it out there, it's just going to keep happening. So,
And it's suppressed constantly.
Yeah.
Even when it surfaces, it surfaces here and there, it's immediately attacked and spun in a different direction, a more manageable direction.
Yeah.
And they'll outright lie if they have to.
Yeah. And I'll end with this. I'll end with this because of your kind comment in the beginning. I don't think you could see, but I never had gray hairs in my beard before everything that happened in November and December. And now it's like a fucking farm. I've got all these gray hairs popping up. I mean, I'm not going to lie. It was a very difficult time for me. It's, without getting into the whole thing again, it's very difficult when, I mean, as a man, that's probably the worst thing that could be said of you. And it's not true. So it sucks. It sucks in this climate. A lot of times on social media lately, you kind of become guilty by tweet these days. And not everyone looks into facts. Not everyone cares to see evidence. So that, it's difficult because for me, like, I'm not a perfect person, but I was raised with a very, very overbearing Jewish mother. Open door for women, put women on a pedestal, all that. And that's ingrained in me. I certainly have not always been like the best boyfriend or the best everything, but to have that said about me, and thankfully the majority of people don't believe it because it's not true. And then without getting into TYT, there were a lot of things that were said on that end about me that were not true. And that was hurtful. But at the end of the day, I think in a weird way, all of that happened has gotten me to this point. And I think I was a little naive too, because I did, you kind of believe that, how do I say this without getting in trouble? You kind of believe that the people who claim to be progressive are progressive. You kind of believe that the people who claim, the people that claim to be progressive actually care if something's true or not, and they're not going to just throw you under a mega-sized bus, you know? So that was definitely a learning lesson, but at the same time, it's April 16th. I have people watching again. I have people paying because they want to see this vision. My business partner, Jen, who honestly, other than my mother, I can't think of somebody who has been there for me more than Jen. Jen, a lot of people don't realize, I didn't even realize, but when Jen first came on board at Truth Against the Machine, which was my previous nonprofit, I handed over my computer to her because I didn't want to deal with, I was too busy with TYT, and she was basically running the marketing and everything for Truth Against the Machine. And I didn't know it. She literally went through all of my conversations to see if what was said about me was true. And she read probably a month's worth of conversations I had with that girl. And she knows it wasn't true because she read it. And she also read into other conversations with other people who were out there saying shit about me that it was clearly from the conversations we were having not true. So she stood by me at great risk to herself. You know, she's a mother of two. She came out publicly when it was not popular to do. She did a video saying, it is not true. I know Jordan. I investigated. And she had people attacking her, calling her terrible names, attacking her as a mother, attacking her as a woman, you know, saying you're standing with a rapist and all these things. So it's, you know, you learn through very difficult times in your life who your real friends are, who your real allies are. I learned because there were a lot of people in the progressive media community, I'm not going to name names, who, let's just say in private, they were very supportive. Publicly, I can't really support you, even though they knew it wasn't true. So that, you know, you kind of, I don't have any bitterness, but you kind of learn real quick the character of people. And I want to say, for those of you who don't know, like, I'm very lucky because I've been interviewing mostly poor people around the country for 2 years. I'm very lucky because I have a very, very supportive family. I grew up, I wasn't rich, but I certainly wasn't poor. My family stood by me because when all this happened, I was pretty depressed. I can't lie. You know, I busted my ass to get to where I was. And then within like 3 days, it kind of felt like it had crumbled down based on lies. So yeah, it was tough. But at the same time, now that I'm kind of coming out of hibernation and it's kind of nice to like be able to follow my vision without somebody above me, without a corporation. You know, TYT, I don't want to get into TYT, but it's a corporation, bottom line. And there were certain things I wanted to do and things I wanted to pursue that I couldn't because I worked for somebody else. And now it's kind of nice to work for people, you know, work for people. Because I don't really want to, honestly, like if somebody who gave a shit ton of money to Hillary Clinton or Barack Obama and the very people that I think are the problem came to me tomorrow and said, I got $30 million with your name on it, I'm not going to lie, it would enter my mind because I'm human, but I wouldn't take it because how am I going to actually pursue what I want to pursue and actually with a straight face talk about oligarchy, talk about neoliberalism if I'm being funded by those people? It just doesn't make sense. So I'm gonna do this grassroots, and when we do succeed, and we will succeed, I'm 100% sure we will succeed. It's going to be much sweeter that we did it the right way because, you know, some East Coast media people have told me, oh, it's so nice. You want to go do reporting and like interview poor people and poison people and all this, but you'll never actually like make money off of that. And I've said to them, well, all I know is that's exactly what I did for 2 years. TYT did a viewer-funded campaign, and they said, this was Jenk's words, get me 10 more Jordan Charitons. And they promoted my work.
I gave him money.
Yes, I'm not saying that because I'm great at all.
No.
I'm saying that because that's what he said. And they promoted my work, and they got reporters, and you could be the judge if they're actually doing that. But I think there is a real hunger for this kind of reporting. I think people are willing to spend $5 a month, $10 a month, whatever, because actions speak louder than words. People could see through my actions what I care about, what I'm going to cover, and how I'm going to do it. You know, you can't hide. You know, you can't hide it. You know, if I start doing segments defending Democratic Party donors and corruption and all that, and doing Trump 24/7, people are going to know I'm not who I say I am. So thanks for your kind words, brother. And email Jordan at protonmail.com to ask me how I could get that full beard.
Sure, will do.
Thanks, man. Let's see. Are there things you need done that your supporters could do virtually? Bob asked. Yeah, actually, you'd be surprised, Bob. I don't really want to like belabor the point, but the suppression that is being done on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and a whole bunch of other places is, you wouldn't believe it. I mean, literally, let me just tell you so you know. When I came back, when I started this channel, I came out pretty quick. Like I had 6,000 subscribers in 2 weeks, which is pretty good. And I was saying to Jen, my business partner, let's buy an ad. Like you could buy ads for certain videos, because if I'm growing this quick without any advertising, maybe it would grow even quicker. Because my thought is, let's get the subscribers up on YouTube as fast as we can. Let's get the paid patrons up as much as we can. So then I could go to investors and say, hey, this is what I got, and I haven't even left the door yet. So we tried to place ads on, like, I think one video was like water contamination in America, happening everywhere, being ignored. The other one was this controversial video, Jordan updates you after back surgery, very controversial. Another one was Bernie Sanders getting, I don't know what the headline was, but Bernie Sanders being attacked over Russiagate. And I forget the fourth one. YouTube denied every single one of my attempts, every one of those videos, citing shocking content, like water contamination, so shocking. Jordan's updating after back surgery, very, very, very shocking. So I did a video, March 8th, basically telling YouTube where to shove it. I said, what is shocking about, it's not like I'm just like a kook. I've been in the field. I'm citing facts about the water contamination. What is shocking about me just telling viewers who sent me kind messages, I just had back surgery, I'm feeling better, I got to do physical therapy. What is so shocking? So I did that video on March 8th. I shit you not, Bob. Jen has the chart. Right after March 8th, everything fell off a cliff. Subscribers fell off a cliff. Views fell off a cliff. I started getting a flood of people telling me they're not being notified when I go live. I had people telling me they're being unsubscribed. All I know is before March 8th, I was doing gangbusters. I was growing very quickly. People were excited to see me back, all this stuff. And then it fell off a cliff. If you could see the emails myself and Jen have had with YouTube tech support, we have both wasted so much of our lives emailing YouTube back and forth. Because I said to YouTube very clearly, I had a very successful channel at the Young Turks. I understand how YouTube works. I understand that there are ebbs and flows, but this is not an ebb and flow. This is, frankly, somebody pulling a button at YouTube. I mean, it's that simple. You don't have the type of drop-off I had. 2 weeks, it growing very quickly, to then falling off a cliff. So what you could do, honestly, if you've already subscribed and you're helping me financially, I honestly can't thank all of you enough, because I understand a lot of you, like, it's not like you got millions lying under your pillow. So I really appreciate it. And by the way, like, I will be investing, I don't have a lot, but I'll be investing quite a bit of my money in this company, because I want, my skin should be in the game too. But what you could do, honestly, besides sharing the videos, get the videos out yourself. So if you could post on Facebook, not just sharing, but post a new post on Facebook, on Twitter, follow me on Steemit. It's way too complicated. You have to apply. It takes a week for them to approve you, but I'm on Steemit now. So you could go to steemit.com. It's STEEMIT.com. You apply, they'll approve you in like a week or so, and then follow me. It's steemit.com/@JordanChariton. From what I'm told, Steemit is kind of like the new Twitter/YouTube without all the censorship and suppression. And you could make money based on your posts. So digital currency, I'm not an expert in it. It's like blockchain. I'm trying to learn it. Lee Camp is very active on Steemit. I think Jimmy is now on Steemit. So we're going to have to get creative. Just so you guys are aware, so I could tell you the behind the scenes, Jen, my business partner, and I are very, 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 very focused on building a website where we bring people to that website, where we are streaming live on our website. I do not want to be dependent on YouTube. I do not want to be dependent on Twitter. I don't want to be dependent on Facebook, because the bottom line is you're at the mercy of their algorithm. So whatever new fuckery they do with the algorithm, we get affected. Whereas if we are going live on our own player, on our own website, it is more difficult to get viewers in the habit of going to the website. But once you get enough viewers coming over to the website, then you kind of create your own little independent media community at the website. So we have the website being built right now. We're going to be using a different player that's not connected to YouTube. And that's kind of the plan. But what you could do, share it, share it, share it. Also, corporate media will never tell you this. Corporate media will never tell you this. Send me what's going on in your community. A lot of the stories I covered for TYT came from viewers. I'm not going to mention names, but some people didn't like that at TYT. Some people thought I was getting too many things from viewers. And total 100%, keeping it real, there were some kooky people sending me some kooky stuff. And I wasted quite a lot of my time. It's probably when my ex-girlfriend broke up with me, frankly. I don't blame her. I spent a lot of time chasing kooky things. But sometimes for every 20 kooks, there's one real story that you go out and cover. And how would I know about East Chicago? I'm not from there. How would I know that things are still so screwed up in Flint if people weren't sending me the news? How would I know? I first learned about Standing Rock, not from Amy Goodman, but from people messaging me on social media. So send us real stories. I don't care if the corruption is as low level as like your PTA board. Like, I believe when Bernie says from the ground up, I mean from the ground up in journalism too. I am not doing 20 videos on Donald Trump a day. I'm just not going to do it. Because while the rest of the media pretends that America was just dandy January 19th, 2017, and it's just suddenly became a tyrannical disaster since he became president, I know that's not true. It's become worse. But there's a reason Donald Trump was elected, and it's not Russian trolls or hacking or any of that bullshit. It's neoliberalism. The people wanted a change, and they got suckered by a used car salesman. It's that simple. But send us your stories, share the videos. Word of mouth is important, to tell you the truth. All right, there's 31 people here right now. If 31 people could get one of their friends or one of their family to subscribe at $1 a month, $2 a month, if you could show them the content. I have a lot of Republicans, by the way, who message me and say, I don't agree with most anything you talk about, but I love your work in Flint. I love your work here, this and that. So like, you'd be surprised. I don't necessarily only look at this as a progressive media organization. What I mean by that is I am progressive, but like, there's conservatives drinking contaminated water too. There's conservatives getting fucked by the trade deals too. There's a lot more conservatives than you would think that want a minimum wage increase. So basically what you could do, tell your friends, tell your family, tell your mailman. If your dog can subscribe, I'll take it from anywhere at this point. The more people that we have buying into this, the better. Onward. Sorry, I'm a little bit long-winded, so sorry about that. Anybody else got questions, comments, concerns? Let me know in the chat if you want to talk, if you want to comment, if you want to question. If you all have seen the logo, the Status Coup logo, I showed it earlier during my live stream. I don't know how to show it here. Someone wanted to know if you've met Rania in real life. I have not met Rania in real life, but I think she's awesome. I think she's a great journalist, and I think Rania is a perfect example. Why you should be seeing Rania Khalek on CNN, on MSNBC, quoted in the New York Times. She's super smart, super educated. She knows what's going on in the Middle East, the truth of what's going on in the Middle East, but she has to resort to doing interviews with people on YouTube. Not to knock people on YouTube. So I'd love to meet Rania, definitely. Carl Knight has a question. Go ahead, Carl. You're unmuted.
Hi, Jordan. Can you hear me?
I can.
Fantastic. Yeah, I was the one who asked about Rania. She's one of my favorite podcasters for sure. Other people I like would include Mark Ames, Yasha Levine, Abby Martin, her brother Robbie Martin, Max Blumenthal, and I feel like you and Jim Dore are kind of like closely orbit around these same people. And I wanted to ask if you meet these people in person, if you have any stories, and the challenges of being smeared constantly when you kind of associate yourself with that far left of the ideological spectrum. I also wanted to ask, well, so that's my first question. I have one more question that's much briefer.
Okay. What's your second question?
If you follow any socialist websites, and if so, which ones do you like?
Sure. First, I met Abby Martin. She actually interviewed me on the night of the election. I was near Hillary Clinton's Hillary Clinton's rally was at the Jacob Javits Center. They put it there because it literally had a glass ceiling. Not even going to comment on that. But yeah, Abby Martin, she was doing interviews, I guess, out and about on election night. I met her. I love Abby Martin's work. To be totally straight up honest with you, I would die and go to heaven if Abby Martin was like the first reporter with me for this network. I certainly have messaged her once about that, maybe twice. But Abby, Abby is her own journalist and she does amazing work. She's been abroad doing amazing work. I don't want to speak for her, but I think her passion area is more on the foreign end than the domestic end. I could be wrong, but that's what it seems. So I love Abby Martin. Jen and I have both talked about how much we'd love to get her, even if it's not full time, just have her involved in some way, because I think she's really super honest and truthful and aggressive and fearless at all the things that I think are needed. So start the campaign to get Abby Martin. Rania, I haven't met in person. We did do a podcast last week. She's based in the Middle East, but I told her, if you're ever up in New York or, when I'm down in DC, if you're there, I'd love to get together. I think she's super smart and has a lot to offer too. She's another one that I would love any collaboration. I won't mention who, but you did name one person that I'm actually speaking with this week about possible collaboration. I don't want to give away too much, but there's one person I'm speaking to about possible collaboration. And full disclosure, I have probably pitched Jimmy Dore on partnering up at least 75 times at this point. So I love Jimmy. I even pitched it at him when I was at the Young Turks. I think Jimmy, in one way, I don't want to partner with him because I'm a little afraid he might have a heart attack. I told him, Jimmy, chill out a little bit. I don't want you to die on camera. He screams too much. But on the other end, I think Jimmy's amazing. I think Jimmy, honestly, he always kind of like belittles himself. Like, I'm just a dumb YouTuber, but he's super smart. They'll never have Jimmy on like Meet the Press or anything like that because he'd wipe the floor with them. And Jimmy, I think Jimmy, look at what he's created. He's got one of the fastest growing channels, even with the suppression. He has sellout shows around the country. I don't want to get into like our private conversations, but he was very, very supportive to me in the rough times I've had over the last few months. And I'd love any involvement with Jimmy. Who else? I met Amy Goodman twice. I like her work. I honestly, I've been on the road so much the last 2 years that I haven't met most of these people in person. And I also I am not aware of as many independent media journalists that you guys are, because I was on the road for 2 years and I was working 18 to 20 hours a day, 7 days a week. So I'm kind of learning now some of the more like people that are really alternative media podcasts, alternative media sites, because I really didn't have a lot of time to familiarize myself with it. I really would have loved to have a second cameraman just to show Ty and I on the road and how much work was involved. You don't really see most of it. Socialist websites, I don't really have a go-to. If you have any you'd suggest, definitely email me it. I don't go to websites as much. I really look at Twitter a lot. There's people I follow on Twitter. I listen to Democracy Now! Podcast as much as I can. I read The Intercept a lot. I like Jacobin. I like a lot, which is pretty, I think they're socialist. Jacobin. I like Zero Hedge, zerohedge.com. I like a lot. What else is there? Counterpunch? Counterpunch. I like a lot. So yeah, I read as much as I humanly can. I'm also trying to do this thing. It's kind of novel, but have some semblance of balance in my life. Because when I was at TYT, I had none of it. I barely saw my nephew his first 2 years of his life. I lost touch with some of my friends. I certainly did not take care of myself in terms of sleep and eating well and stuff. So I'm trying to get off I'm trying not to be in front of my computer at all times of the day, which is tough when you're trying to build a network and get investors and all that stuff. So those are.
Could you tell me, is there something that kind of unites you and Rania, Mark Ames? What makes you sacrifice career, upward mobility for your career in terms of like your integrity?
You mean upward mobility as far as how much money I can make?
Yeah. Yes. Because I know that's something. I mean, I admire that, but I know that's very challenging and a very difficult.
Well, I didn't really broadcast it that much, but when I was at TYT, I got 2 offers pretty much out of nowhere. One was from Politico, of all places. The other one I don't really want to say because I'm embarrassed. But it was for a lot more money, and I did not even think twice. I said no. Honestly, well, I could only speak for myself, but I personally, it's not to attack people as insecure, but I think if your main mentality is money, there's something insecure in you, you know? Because I speak with one of my best friends. He's in real estate. I love him to death. I've known him since I was a kid. And he's very, very focused on money, making as much money as humanly possible. He thinks that's in some way going to make him happy. And I've always said to him, because I know him and I know his insecurities, he knows mine. I've said, I don't want to mention his name, but I've said, like, you know, you're going to have a mansion one day. You're going to be successful. It's just a matter of time. But your problems don't just like go away. I know Donald Trump would like to let you think so, but like, yeah, it's great to have a private jet and be able to buy whatever the hell you want and, you know, all those things, but it doesn't make you happy. So for me, I personally, money has never been my motivator. If it was, I would have stayed at MSNBC, or I would have stayed in corporate media and made a hell of a lot more. It doesn't make me happy. You know, right now I'm not making any money. I mean, the Patreon is not going to me. It's going so I could pay other people that are helping me behind the scenes, and also going so we could fund money so I could get back in the field. I'm paying my rent and all that stuff out of my savings right now. But the bottom line is, I can't speak for Rania or all these other people, but I think people that side with truth and focus on truth, even when it's very, very unpopular truth, in a lot of cases, it's risky. This kind of work is risky. I've been followed on the road. I have been threatened. I've had death threats against me. Your happiness needs to come from truth and justice.
That's very, very courageous of you all.
Oh, thanks. My happiness doesn't come from like, you know, being able to buy like a house in the Bahamas and have all this money. It comes from being in Flint, trying to report the truth, getting results, which doesn't always happen with reporting, but sometimes it does. And my happiness comes with helping. I guess it's my way of helping people because that makes me happy, you know? And honestly, the most difficult part about the last few months for me wasn't really losing my job. That sucks to be fired. It sucks to be fired based on bullshit and lies, but jobs come and go. What really has been difficult is not being able to continue covering the things I want to cover in the field. So that's how I feel. And I can't speak for them, but I'm sure that's how, Rania and those other people feel too, because trust me, CNN and those people, they're going to always make more money, and that's okay. I'm actually not, obviously if I'm looking for investors, we need to make money. Investors aren't just doing it for charity, but I'm not going to run this company based on becoming a multi-billion-dollar corporate conglomerate. And the minute I do that, I don't want to do it. I'd like enough money to eat. Eventually, if I have kids and a family to live and cover the bills, go on vacation occasionally. But I don't know, maybe I'm naive, but I've always felt if you do the right thing, if you cover things the right way, if you cover the right things, the money is going to come. It just will. So that's how I feel.
I appreciate your answer, Jordan.
Thanks,
Keep up
man.
the great work.
Thanks for your support. Let's see. Zachary, if Jordan was not at Standing Rock, who else would you have heard about that from? Well, thank you, Zachary. And that's actually, honestly, sometimes you're on the road and you're just working so much that you don't even realize how your work is being interpreted. Because I was, when I was at TYT, I was covering the Draft Bernie conference in DC. It's not Draft Bernie anymore. I guess they changed it to like a People's Party thing. But I did this panel on Standing Rock. I was on with Native Americans and other people. And somebody said something that I never really thought of, because contrary to the caricature that's kind of been drawn of me, I'm actually not an egomaniac. Maybe I have a little ego, but I'm not like a massive asshole narcissist. But somebody said, like, your reporting saved lives. And I said, what do you mean? And I guess, like, I never thought about it, but like keeping the camera on and being there, I guess a lot of people felt that made sure the police didn't change to real bullets and it wasn't just me, by the way. There were so many freelance journalists and documentary filmmakers and a lot of other people that were there that didn't have the TYT platform, but they were there and they were doing great work. And, they deserve a lot of credit. So sometimes you don't even know what your work is really accomplishing. And honestly, going back to the last question, what gives me joy, when people come up to you in like a casino there was a hotel/casino at Standing Rock, and they tell you, like, I came after I saw your videos. I mean, if you're able in your career, whatever you do, to have that kind of impact, it doesn't seem like much, but like, if you're able to inspire people to do something, then that's a life well spent, in my opinion. And that's kind of what's been bittersweet about the last few months. The last few months has gotten me to this point, but it's also stopped me from being able to do those things. So, that's that. Jen says he's very nice, even if he and I butt heads sometimes. Note, he defers to me, haha. Oh, Jennifer. Jen's my business partner. She's a wonderful person, yada, yada, yada. So I'll go for another like 10, 15 minutes. I don't want to take people away from their dinners. Anybody else got questions, comments? And by the way, I really, really, I can't say it enough. Thank you for subscribing. Thanks for your contributions. Thanks for sharing the work. This is the grassroots. This is the bottom level. Like, if this company takes off one day, I'm going to remember this time, because these are the people supporting. It's not just me. You're supporting the reporting and that kind of truth. I mean, I can't go to investors if I don't have you guys supporting me. I mean, there's been people. There was one person that subscribed at $100 the other day that I personally think. It's remarkable that people are willing to sacrifice when they don't have a lot of money, their funds to get real truth out there. So I thank you a lot. Drunken Chief has a question. Hi, Jordan. No need to turn on my mic. Any thoughts on business cards with all of the places you are broadcasting on? That way it's something in a person's pocket and not having to text or email complete strangers. You know what, Drunken Chief? I wish I would have listened to you before I went to this fundraiser last week without business cards. Yes, I am. That's definitely on the list. I went to a fundraiser, by the way. I didn't donate. I just went because I wanted to meet other people and possibly get, investors. But yeah, I do need business cards. I do need the URLs to everywhere I'm going, 100%. To tell you the truth, Jen, my business partner's list of things needed is probably, she could tell you, she's probably got at least 75 things on that list. And I'm doing about 75 things at once every day. So there are definitely things falling through the cracks. Jen is running the business. I'm doing the content. I'm going to be CEO, so I'll be definitely part of running the business, but she's running the day-to-day. So we definitely need help. We need help. We're not going to just take anyone off the street, but we need a lot of help because there's a lot of marketing to do. There's a lot of business planning. We're trying to get sponsors. We're trying to get tech help. We're trying to get graphic artist help. I mean, there's so much we need help with. So definitely, if you have experience, send your resume to Jen. Email Jordan. Email Jordan. I'll put it in now. Email Jordan at protonmail.com. We are definitely being a lot more particular and careful about who we bring into the fold. Because frankly, totally on me. There's no one else at fault for it but me. But with Truth Against the Machine, frankly, I delegated way too much. I wasn't involved as much as I should have been. And a lot of kooky people came in the fold that shouldn't have been in the fold. They're not necessarily bad people, but they weren't professional people. And they caused a lot of damage. Let's put it that way. So, yeah, definitely need to get business cards. Thanks for bringing that up. Jen says, if you're sane, I will friend you. Haha. All right, let's keep it going. Anybody got questions, comments, ideas? Will you be back in East Chicago soon? I live in a community nearby, and it has many issues like education as well. You bet your bottom dollar I'll be back in East Chicago. My list of places I need to go is a mile long. Honestly, if I have the funding, I might just be on the road for like 3 months straight without a break at first, because there's so many places. If right now, the first place I probably want to go to, if I have the funding, is Puerto Rico. I think that it's a disgrace what's going on there. I think these are American citizens, even though they weren't treated that way. The nonsense being spewed that like 90% of Puerto Rico has electricity again is total lies. Just like them saying the water in Flint is safe, and just lies. So I definitely want to go to Puerto Rico. That was on my list, but obviously I was let go from TYT. I want to go to Puerto Rico, Flint, East Chicago. There's a lot of other places I want to go. So I will be back to East Chicago for sure. Here we go. Jordan, hook up with Randy Credico. Okay. I don't know who Randy Credico is, but if you want to email me who that is and why I should hook up with him, feel free. Email Jordan at patron.com. He's friends with Jimmy. Well, a friend of Jimmy is a friend of mine. So absolutely. Does this Randy Credico have money? Can you add the places you want to go as Patreon goals? Absolutely, Rosanita. I love that name. Yes. Honestly, part of the reason I haven't been out just on my life savings is because I just had back surgery. And it's really, really easy to re-aggravate your back. Like literally, like an idiot, I ran sprinting last week. I ran sprinting to make a train because the train was at the platform and I was late. I sprinted to make the train. And then literally on Saturday, I was at a friend's house and I noticed that my lower back where the surgery was, where they cut in, was swelling like a goddamn golf ball. I had spinal fluid that was building up because I had popped a stitch in my lower back. I'm only like a month removed from back surgery. So I'm going to go back in the field, but I want to make sure my back, is sitting on a plane for a long time and all those things. But I'll be back in. Hi, Jordan. What do you think of the fact that MDEQ isn't sending me my results? And when I look them up on the website, they're all listed under different zip codes. That's Vicky. MDEQ is the Michigan Department of Environmental Quality. These are the same brainiacs that didn't add corrosion control chemicals. And that's how Flint's water originally got lead poisoned. What do I think about them not sending you your results? They're corrupt. That's what I think. And that's what my reporting shows. They are super corrupt. They are trying to cover up the real epidemic. They are using cherry-picked and half-baked science to declare the water safe. In my report that I'm trying to get published, I show that there are many homes that tested at severely elevated levels for lead, and then they were never retested by the state. So Vicky, I love you. I know who you are, Vicky. I wouldn't be banking on them sending you the results, unfortunately, because the Michigan Department of Environmental Quality, let's not pretend that is an agency that works for Governor Snyder. That is a state agency, works for the state. And if you noticed, living in Flint, obviously you did, this governor doesn't give a damn about Flint. I did a live stream earlier of his obscene, literally, I couldn't believe this man said this out loud. He told the mayor of Flint, get over it, about closing down the water pods with the free water bottles. Get over it. This is, honestly, at first I thought he was a sociopath. I actually think he's a psychopath. This is a psychopath. To talk to the mayor of Flint and the residents of Flint to get over it. April 25th, 4 years since they switched the water and poisoned the people, and they still can't drink the water. I've been hooting and hollering as loud as I can. The water's not safe. And any media outlet that just regurgitates that is lying to you. And if you knew the Olympian feats I've had to go through to get this piece published, which, by the way, is very deeply investigated, very deeply reported. I got Aaron Brockovich on the record. I have water experts on the record. I have plumbers on the record. I have residents on the record. It's not something I just cooked up one day. I've been writing it and rewriting it and researching and more research. Jen has edited it. I've been told from several people who have read it that they think this could save lives. But I can't get the Daily Beast to publish it. I can't get Mother Jones to publish it. If I'm keeping it real, I got a response from The Intercept that the editor did not have the bandwidth to read it. This is literally 10 pages on Microsoft Word. So that's the deal with that. Any other questions, comments, concerns before I go? And remember, tell your friends, tell your family, even if it's $1 a month, $2 a month. Let me be clear. This is not going to my pocket for fancy dinners. That's another thing I think people need to know. When we launch this company, there will be transparency. You're going to know where the money's going. There was this bullshit put out about me that I was partying with TYT's money. Not true at all. Literally the opposite. Not going to mention names, but there were certain people I was on the road with that I had to tell, chill out with how much you're spending on your credit card. So I am very frugal with my money, especially other people's money. And it very much upset me that was put out there because it's just not true. And to be clear, if you noticed, that was put out there with no supporting specifics or any evidence to back it up because it's not reality. So my Patreon, everything is transparent. People could go and see how many people. Right now, between my book Patreon and my reporting Patreon, I think we have about almost 700, paid subscribers. By the way, so you know, we are releasing, Jen, I think we're releasing chapter 7 of my book on Wednesday. on Wednesday. Chapter 7 is all about Standing Rock. Chapter 6 was kind of the happy things from Standing Rock. I wanted to focus more on some of the beautiful things that happened that you might not know about. Chapter 7's not going to be so happy. All about the horrific things that happened, some of the behind the scenes things that happened with me that you don't know about. Obviously, you know, everybody's only got so much money to go around, so I don't expect people to be able to subscribe to both a book Patreon and a reporting Patreon. If you'd like to, at my book, you could also subscribe, I think as low as $1 a month there too. I want everyone to be able to read it because I think it's important that the truth gets out. So the book Patreon, let me put in the link here. The book Patreon is patreon.com/Jordan Chariton. Oh no, I don't want to send this just to Drunken Chief. Hold on. Everyone. I don't know. Jen will put it in. For some reason, it's not letting me type it in. The book Patreon is patreon.com/Jordan Chariton. The reporting Patreon is patreon.com/Jordan Chariton Reports. Some people are subscribed to both. I would love it if more people sign up for the book because I've worked really hard on this book. And more importantly, the truth needs to get out. I have six chapters up right now, including 2 bonus chapters. And we're going to probably start printing paperback copies of the book soon. Hey, Jordan, what kind of music do you listen to? I need some new tunes in the car. Nancy, I'm a very simple man. I listen to Third Eye Blind. Third Eye Blind. And lots of it. I love Third Eye Blind. I think they're the most underrated band of all time. Most people stopped after their hit song, Semi-Charmed Life, in 1997, but they have 5 CDs since then, and they are fantastic. I also like Coldplay. I like Coldplay, U2. What else do I like? Let me look at my thing. What do I like? I like U2, Third Eye Blind, Coldplay, Jack's Mannequin, I like. I'm not gonna lie, I do like a little Kesha. Gets me going. I like Maroon 5. Yeah, that's it. I'm a simple man. Honestly, when I was on the road for TYT, I would, my lavish spending, I would pay for Sirius XM radio. I think it was like an extra $6 or something for the rent-a-car. So I could listen to 90s station. I think it's 90s on 9 or something on Sirius radio. What's better than like Alanis Morissette, Ace of Base? Joel wants to retract his Patreon because of my music. I don't blame you. So I'm totally open to more tunes. Oh, I do. Of course, I love the Beatles. Love Red Hot Chili Peppers. So that's it. Favorite movie, Shawshank Redemption, followed by The Lion King. Depends on my mood, but I do love Shawshank. I do love The Lion King. So many life metaphors with The Lion King. I do quote The Lion King quite a bit for everything in life. That's true. Very simple man. Ty, my old cameraman, used to call me an old, boring 90-year-old because I just, like Ty is like a black guy, grew up in Compton, wanted to listen to like rap and that kind of stuff. And I was like, can we just put on Third Eye Blind? And I would put on Third Eye Blind in the car and he'd be like, turn this shit off. Love Ty, brother from another mother. Love Ty. He's a good guy. And very talented too. He did a lot of multitasking. So, I love Larry David too. Larry David for president. Love Curb. So, folks, I hope you've enjoyed this. I hope you've gotten as much behind the scenes as humanly possible. I'm going to do this monthly, sometimes more than monthly, depending on the topic. I'm also probably going to do a Patreon only live chat specifically for people with questions about breaking into journalism. I've had a lot of people ask me that, so I figured I would just do like a call specifically on that. I could do other calls that are focused on a particular topic. And I can't thank you guys enough. I mean, I don't know what other way to say it. Like, you know how like celebrities and these people, when they do like thank you speeches, when they win awards, they say, I can't do it without you guys. No, they can't do it without like the studios that pay for them and, you know, all that. I literally like, I cannot do what I have set out to do without you. I just can't do it. If it was easy to do this kind of reporting, it would be done all over the place. It's not easy. It's not easy to get the funding. It's not easy to get people that are courageous enough to fund it and to support it. So it's hard. But I think most good things in life are hard. If everything was meant to be easy, we'd have a gazillion independent media outlets in the world. Unfortunately, we've got a brain dead media that's corrupt themselves and more interested in climbing ladders and going to cocktail parties in DC and New York than actually helping struggling people in this country. Thank you guys so much. We'll do this again soon. Tell your friends, tell your family, tell your mailman. Patreon.com/Jordan Chariton Reports. Oh, reminder, if you haven't already, go to jordanchariton.com, enter your email. We want to grow our email list as large as possible. If we grow that email list, we could communicate directly with you, the viewer, you, the patron, rather than depending on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, and all these social outlets that are now censoring folks.